right, it gives me great pleasure now to introduce the Director of HMRI, Professor Frances K. Lambkin. She is a distinguished researcher here, a professor at the University of Newcastle, Director and CEO of the Hunter Medical Research Institute. She has a major program in mental health comorbidity and the use of technology and innovative technology to deliver care. And it's just wonderful to have her here at the conference to open it up officially for us. So Frances, welcome and thanks very much. And she's going to tell you something about HMRI, which is one of the country's leading medical research institutes. Frances.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just going to lower this a little bit. Not lower the standards, I hope, because we've started off so well. Thank you so much for being here, for coming to our beautiful city of Newcastle, and it's such a privilege to be here on Awabakal land. So thank you so much for your wonderful welcome and acknowledgement of country, and it's just a privilege to have this HMRI building built on the lands of the Awabakal people. And I know that we've been here for about 26 years now, and every day we come into work and we know that we're building on 65,000 years of the first researchers and the first wisdom, and it's an absolute privilege to be able to do that every day, and we hope we do you justice. And so I too would like to extend my acknowledgement today. I've mucked up already. I don't know if I've got the right mouse or not. Is this the one I use? That's the one I use. To the traditional custodians of the land that we're all gathering on today, the Awabakal and the Worimi peoples, and I'd like to also add my respect to elders past and present, and to extend that respect to the Aboriginal people who might be joining us and Torres Strait Islanders here in the room today and also online. So we, as Nick said, are very proud to be here at the Hunter Medical Research Institute, which is Australia's largest regional medical research institute. And in thinking about what I might want to talk with you a little bit about today in opening this session or opening the conference, I was thinking about, well, where would we rank in terms of the top 5 regions in Australia to conduct health and medical research? Because we think we're pretty good, but what would the wisdom of all, font of all knowledge, ChatGPT say about us? So certainly, when you think about where the top 5 regions are in Australia, according to ChatGPT, to do health and medical research, things like having a concentration of globally recognised research institutions in the one place makes a difference. The strength of research outputs make a difference, which is why it's wonderful to have you here as well. And the availability of advanced facilities and collaborations, and also contributions across the spectrum of basic science right through to translational research. And for us, unfortunately, at this point in time, we don't even rank in ChatGPT's evaluation of where the top 5 regions are to conduct health and medical research. And perhaps not surprisingly, all the capital cities are the ones that are featured well in reflecting on this particular question. And so for us here at HMRI, we have just launched a brand new health and medical research strategy, which aims to change the way in which we do our research and deliver on the health and wellbeing needs of our community. And so why is that? Why are we trying to do that, and why do we think our region is particularly special and important in the health and medical research landscape? Well, here in our Hunter New England region, we have almost 1 million people, or just over 1 million people, living, working, thriving and connecting in this Hunter New England region, which is about the size of England. So we cover a huge geographical footprint. And we're also unique in that not only do we have a large geography, but here in amongst our 1 million people, we are a microcosm for the rest of Australia in terms of social, economic, health, cultural and demographic profiles. And for us, for a long time in other sorts of sectors, this region here has been the ideal living lab and test bed for innovations in energy, in digitisation and all sorts of things. And we are considered to be a kind of a national market for all sorts of innovations, because if you can get things working across our 1 million people here, then it's very, very quick to scale up to everywhere else in Australia, that big macrocosm that's Australia, and also a much shorter step to doing that globally. And so this is the case for age brackets. We have a wide range of ages across our 1 million people. We have a lot of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who live and work and commune here with us, right across the spectrum. We have the range of health and medical disorders and challenges that are facing our community, and these reflect the state and the national regional and the global healthcare challenges that people are facing as we look forward. We also have a good proportion, unfortunately, of people with disability who are trying to get their needs met and connect with health and medical research and innovation. And we also have quite a wide range of socio-economic profiles within our region, including disadvantage. And so, and we have this all happening across a regional rural footprint that extends across all the major cities, major city right through the very, very remote classifications of indices. And so, again, if we can get our innovations and health and medical research innovations happening across this spectrum of rural, regional, remoteness, then we think we can get this happening everywhere else quickly in the world. And we're on a bit of a mission here at the Hunter Medical Research Institute, and that is to make sure that our million people who live in this region are the healthiest on the planet. And again, we think if we can do that by doing research that's relevant and caters to their wants and needs in the place where they would like to receive their health and medical innovations, then it's a very short step to making Australia the 26 million healthiest people on the planet, and then the world from there. And as I mentioned before, we are in a really good position to be able to do this here. We are the only comprehensive institute of our kind in regional Australia. And by comprehensive, I mean we don't focus on cancer or heart and stroke or mental health specifically here at HMRI. We have about 1,300 researchers and clinical academics and community who work with us on our health and medical research program. And we have 19 different areas of health and medicine that we have expertise in. And we think that's really important because the diversity of needs of our million people is broader than just one health disorder. We have the largest geographical footprint of any MRI in Australia, and we have a huge and strong emphasis on our community, and that's why it's just been so lovely to have our community in with us today right from the start of this conference, because by having our community, by being connected with our community, by having them help us drive our health and medical research agenda, we can make sure that we are going to close health gaps, close knowledge gaps, and make our research meaningful beyond not just at the wonderful research outputs that I'm sure you'll talk about today. And so just very broadly and briefly, this is our HMRI 2023 Plus strategy. We say 2023 Plus because, of course, it's going to take us more than a couple of years to realise this vision, which is to discover local and make those local discoveries relevant and meaningful and impactful globally. We'll be focusing over the next couple of years in particular on a couple of priority projects. So we're going to be investing in and enhancing and standing up the clinical trials infrastructure and engagement with our community over the next couple of years to make sure that this region has the highest per capita participation rate in clinical trials anywhere else in Australia at least. And we would like this to be the destination of choice for clinical trials because of our demographic footprint, because of the populations and the communities that people can engage with in order to make their clinical trials meaningful and translatable. And so that involves really heavy connection with our community, and to that end we're going to focus our efforts in these three particular areas, still very, very broad, that will be our research agenda. So we're really mindful of the impact of the environment on our million people, both the current pressures with work and occupation, respiratory impacts of bushfires and floods and disasters and things like that happen here just as they do everywhere else, but also the future impacts of climate and climate health and climate change on the health and wellbeing of our communities. So we're really going to bring our 19 research programs, which you can see listed here, together to address one of these really critical challenges and concerns that our community has raised with us. We also want to make sure that as individuals, as each of our million people, we are resilient in our health and wellbeing. So what can we do and what are we sitting on in our programs that can be immediately mobilised to help make us resilient to the shocks that we might encounter in our society, whether they be environmental or broadly more health? And also what can we do to innovate and discover and do things better and differently and with more impact in the healthcare and healthcare delivery models, given that we now need to make sure that we don't leave anybody behind, that even those in the most remote areas of our region still get access to the latest evidence and the latest opportunity to live the healthiest and happiest lives. And so to do that, we need to engage, of course, not only with our wonderful academics and clinicians sitting in our program, programs with our partners in the University of Newcastle and the Hunter New England Local Health District, but we really need to connect very strongly and very meaningfully with our community, with our 1 million people. And so one of the things in our strategy is to create what we're calling a Health Pulse asset, which will be a living digital surveillance system, not in a creepy way, but to monitor, predict and respond to those emerging health and wellbeing issues across our 1 million people. And so people may or may not have heard of the flu tracking program that one of our clinical researchers, Craig Dalton, has launched as a way to keep track of respiratory and other sorts of symptoms in between clinic visits that some of his patients were having with him. And this, through COVID, really took on its own life in that it helped inform our state government about public health and other measures that needed to occur in order to protect most of our communities from the impacts of COVID-19. So we'd like to use and develop an asset broader than respiratory symptoms and make sure that we are connected in real time to the health and wellbeing needs of our community. And so this Health Pulse will be one of our strategies that underpins our ability to deliver on our strategy, but also to create and respond to the health and wellbeing needs of our 1 million people, thereby making them the healthiest. Sounds really easy when I say it really quickly, but we think that these are some of the critical things, driven again by our community, that can help put us right up here next time we come together. And so thank you so much for coming to visit us here in Newcastle. Please spend some time connecting with this beautiful country that we're on. I understand that there are some people who probably are at the beach or in the vineyards already, and more power to them. But we think this is going to be the place to come and do your health and medical research into the future, into the very, very near future. And I hope you'll enjoy receiving the thousands of submissions that you will no doubt get from the Hunter over the next couple of years. And we look forward to loads of acceptances at the same time. So thank you so much for being here. Please connect and enjoy your time here, and welcome.